The rain had been falling steadily for hours, tapping against the windows in a soothing yet eerie rhythm. I sat curled up in the corner of my small apartment living room, a mug of lukewarm tea in my hands. The street outside was nearly empty, muffled by the thick fog creeping through the city. Living alone hadn't been my choice initially. It just happened after a messy breakup and a job transfer to a quieter part of town. But I had grown used to the silence, even the occasional loneliness. The city felt big and indifferent, and I liked it that way. That night, though, something didn't sit right with me. My phone buzzed quietly on the coffee table. I glanced down and saw a message from an unknown number. "You don't know me, but I'm watching." My heart jumped. It had to be a prank or some random drunk texting. But the words felt cold, deliberate. I texted back, "Who is this?" No reply. Trying to shake off the unease, I went to check the locks on the doors and windows. Everything was tight, no sign of forced entry. I told myself it was just my imagination playing tricks. Still, the feeling of being watched lingered. I poured myself another cup of tea and sat back down, turning on the TV to distract myself. But the power flickered once, twice, then went out completely. The apartment plunged into darkness, save for the dim streetlight filtering through the curtains. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I reached for my phone to use the flashlight app when it buzzed again. Another message. "You can't hide." The rational part of me wanted to call the police or a friend, but a deeper, primal fear rooted me to the spot. I decided to text back one more time. "Leave me alone." Minutes passed with no reply. I debated whether to call someone, but worried that might escalate things. Suddenly, a soft knock at the door. If you want, I can continue with section 2, diving deeper into what's really going on and building the story. The knock came again, soft, deliberate. Not the kind of knock a neighbor would make. It wasn't loud, but somehow it filled the apartment like a thunderclap. I stood still in the dark, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. The light from the street barely reached the front door, just enough to cast a faint shadow beneath it. I moved slowly, phone in hand, and turned on the flashlight. The beam flickered slightly, casting tall, strange shadows on the walls. I didn't call out. Something in me said not to. Peering through the peephole, I expected to see nothing. But someone was standing there. He was tall, wearing a dark hood pulled over his head. His face was mostly hidden now, but I could make out part of his mouth, slightly smiling. Just standing, not knocking again, just waiting. My breath caught in my throat. I backed away from the door quietly, holding my phone like a weapon. There was no reason he should be there. I didn't recognize him at all. My mind ran through all the possibilities. A thief? A stalker? Someone who got the wrong door? But I knew better. That text, that knock, it was meant for me. I backed further into the apartment and locked myself in the bedroom, turning off the flashlight. The room was pitch black. I sat in the corner behind the bed, knees drawn to my chest, listening. Then another knock, louder this time. A long pause. Then, silence. Minutes passed. Maybe an hour. I don't know. I stayed frozen, afraid to even look out the window. I didn't call the police. I should have, but fear makes you irrational. I kept thinking maybe I was overreacting. That maybe he was gone. Eventually, exhaustion won. I fell asleep in the corner, fully dressed, phone gripped in my hand. When I woke up the next morning, sunlight was streaming through the window. I stood slowly, aching from the awkward position I'd slept in, and crept back to the front door. No one was there. No sign of anyone ever being there. But when I opened the door, I saw it. A small piece of folded paper lying on the doormat. I picked it up with trembling fingers and unfolded it. In neat, tight handwriting were 3 words, "I found you." I locked the door and slid the deadbolt, then double-checked all the windows again. My hands were shaking. The folded note sat on the kitchen counter, its message burning into my mind. "I found you." I kept wondering. Found me from where? I hadn't changed my number recently, and I was careful about what I posted online. My social media was private. There were only a handful of people who even knew where I lived. I told myself it had to be someone playing a cruel joke. But my gut knew better. I finally called the police. The officer who came by was polite but dismissive. "No threat was made," he said. "Could be a prank. Do you have any exes who might want to scare you?" I hesitated. There was one. Nathan. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 years. The relationship ended badly. Not violent, but intense. Obsessive. He'd shown up unannounced once or twice after the breakup, but I'd moved cities. I thought I was free of him. I gave the officer his name just in case. After he left, I spent the afternoon checking my apartment again. I couldn't focus on work. I couldn't relax. I even looked for hidden cameras in case someone was watching me. That night, I fell asleep with the lights on and a kitchen knife under my pillow. At 2:14 a.m., I woke up to the sound of glass breaking. I bolted upright, heart racing. The sound had come from the living room window. I grabbed the knife, crept to the door, and slowly peeked out. The window wasn't shattered, just cracked. Something had hit it hard, leaving a spiderweb pattern. On the floor beneath it was a small rock wrapped in black fabric. I didn't touch it at first, just stared at it for what felt like forever. Then I picked it up carefully and unwrapped the cloth. Another note. I know you're alone. By morning, I knew I couldn't live like this. Constantly waiting, checking every shadow. I wrapped the cracked window with duct tape, then called my landlord. He promised to send someone to repair it in a few days. I didn't tell him why it was broken. I didn't want him to think I was crazy. Instead, I sat at my laptop and did something I hadn't done in over a year. I searched for Nathan. His name brought up a few old social profiles, nothing updated. Then I checked the last message he ever sent me. I hadn't deleted it. You'll regret walking away. That was the last straw back then. After months of guilt tripping and manipulation, that message told me everything I needed to know. I checked my emails, my texts, even old photos. Nothing had come from him recently, but it still felt like him. By mid-afternoon, I was pacing. I couldn't eat. I kept staring at the rock from last night, sitting now on my kitchen table like some cursed totem. I decided to take a risk and visit the local police station in person. The officer at the front desk was younger, more empathetic than the first. When I showed him the notes and photos of the broken window, he frowned. "You should take this seriously," he said. "Even if no one's been hurt, it's escalating." He filed a formal report and suggested installing a camera. I picked up a basic motion sensor camera from a store near my apartment that night. It wasn't fancy, but it would alert my phone to any movement. I set it up facing the front door before bed and left a lamp on in the hallway. I barely slept. Just after 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected. I sat up instantly and grabbed it. There was a still image of a figure, blurry, just outside the door, too fast to catch clearly. But the shape, it was tall, narrow, with a hood again. Then another notification, and another, and another. 4 motion alerts, all in the span of 2 minutes. When I checked the feed, the camera had stopped recording. Dead battery. I stared at the screen, breath shallow. Then I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Just before the footage cut out, the figure had turned and looked directly into the lens, as if he knew I was watching. The next day, I didn't go to work. I couldn't. I sat at the table replaying the camera footage again and again, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. The way he turned toward the lens, as if he knew exactly where it was. It wasn't just a stalker. It was personal, intentional. I decided to stop being afraid. I needed help, real help. I called Lily, my closest friend in the city. We hadn't talked as much since I moved, mostly because I didn't want to seem like I was struggling. But as soon as she heard my voice, she knew something was wrong. "I'm coming over," she said before I could finish explaining. By evening, she was sitting in my living room, stunned as I laid out everything. The texts, the notes, the broken window, the footage. "Why didn't you call me sooner?" she whispered, anger and worry mixing in her voice. I didn't want to believe it was happening, I admitted. She looked at the photos again. "Have you thought about who else it could be? Not Nathan, but maybe someone else from your past?" That question sank into me deeper than I expected, because there was someone, a name I hadn't thought of in years. Marcus. Not an ex, not even a friend. Just a guy I'd met in college. A classmate who'd once gotten weirdly attached after we worked on a group project. He showed up to a few of my classes after that, even ones he wasn't enrolled in. I'd blocked him on everything eventually, and he disappeared. But the vibe, the messages, the way they were written, it was just like back then. I pulled up my old university email and searched for his name. Nothing. Then I searched for the file I once sent to campus security back when I had reported him for following me to my dorm. There it was. Subject, Marcus H. Repeated harassment. My blood went cold. "Do you still have any mutual connections?" Lily asked. "No, but he knew where I interned after graduation. That company posted my promotion last year with a location tag." We stared at each other. That's how he found me. That night, Lily insisted on staying over. We set up the motion sensor again and placed another by the hallway window. This time we didn't sleep, and at 3:42 a.m., another alert. But this time, when I looked at the footage, he wasn't just standing outside. He was holding something, a key. The sight of the key in his hand sent a jolt of fear through every inch of my body. He had a copy. I immediately called the police. No hesitation this time. While I was on the phone, Lily locked all the windows and grabbed her car keys. The dispatcher told me to stay inside, stay quiet, and wait. Officers were en route. I watched the footage. He didn't try the lock. He didn't even jiggle the doorknob. He just stood there for several minutes, his face partially visible now. Thin lips, narrow eyes, pale skin under the hood. No doubt in my mind, it was Marcus. It all made sense. The tone of the messages, the obsessive nature, the way he escalated in silence, pushing just enough each time to keep me afraid but unsure. That was always his pattern. But this time I wasn't alone. When the officers arrived, they found him still near the stairwell, the key in his pocket. He didn't resist. He didn't run. He just looked at me as they handcuffed him. That same expressionless stare I remembered from college, like he thought none of this was wrong. Turns out, he had found an old maintenance worker on Facebook and impersonated a leasing agent online to get a copy of my apartment key. The company confirmed the breach. They were horrified. Charges were filed. Restraining order granted. My locks were changed that same week. The fear didn't vanish overnight, but something shifted after that. For the first time in weeks, I slept without the hallway light on. I wasn't constantly checking shadows. And when I passed mirrors, I finally recognized the person staring back at me. Not just scared, but surviving. Lily stayed over for a few nights. She helped me set up a better security system. We even laughed a little, like real laughter, when we remembered how we both tried to sleep sitting upright, knives in our hands like two paranoid warriors. Therapy helped too. I started going once a week, unpacking how much fear I had bottled up, not just from Marcus, but from years of brushing things off, minimizing danger because I didn't want to be dramatic. I wasn't dramatic. I was right. The story didn't go viral. No one made a podcast about it. But it was real. Too real. It taught me that horror doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It watches. It waits. But I learned how to fight it, how to outlast it. And when I sleep now, even when the rain taps on the window, I don't flinch. I breathe. Because I made it out.